Teroshios, and I'm the couples coach with over 20 years of experience helping folks achieve extraordinary results in their life. And you're listening to and watching The Couples Connection. If fights between you and your partner seem to be going nowhere, you may have become victims of the 4 slippery slopes. Now let me talk to you about these slopes today, because if you're fighting or bickering or griping or grumbling in your relationship together with your partner and it goes nowhere, you definitely need to know these 4 slippery slopes. They will help you. First is criticism. Anytime our partner brings up an issue or we're in the midst of conversation and we criticize our partner for their position. The second slippery slope is defensiveness. And in defensiveness, you know how that can be. I begin to listen to what you have to say, but before long, after too much has come out of your mouth, what happens is my engine begins to roll in my own head, and I begin to defend my position. And in doing so, what happens is your position becomes lost, my position for me becomes important, and what happens is neither position really gets attended to, and neither person leaves the conversation with any understanding. And you can begin to see how defensiveness and criticism work very well together as a tag team. Now the next piece is contempt. Contempt is that place in a conversation that turns to argument, that kind of turns to even a fight, where we show resentment. Contempt is that place where we've grown frustrated over time and we attack our partner. Contempt is that what I call it the residue of resentment that kind of lays on us in a relationship as our needs have gone unmet, as we've not been able to communicate maybe with this one issue 50 times, 60 times, we've come back to it with no good result because we found these slippery slopes, we've slid right down them to a place that doesn't benefit either one of us. The fourth slippery slope is stonewalling. Stonewalling happens, and it's kind of interesting. Men will stonewall more often than women, but there are some women who've told me very clearly that they do stonewall. I'm married to a wife that sometimes when she's stuck on the slippery slopes, she does some stonewalling. Stonewalling is any time when you turn away from a conversation. It may be abrupt, it may be subtle. You may simply turn and walk into the other room. Another way to end a conversation by stonewalling is saying, "That's it, I'm finished, we're done talking." I'm sure that a couple of those may sound familiar to you. Now, what I want to say about the 4 slippery slopes is that we must avoid them and or minimize them as much as possible in conversations that are sensitive, where we really want to get an end result that feels good for you and it feels good for me in the partnership and in the marriage. And so, saying that, I also want to go back for a moment and I want to say a couple things about these 4 slippery slopes. In the research, 3 out of these 4 slippery slopes are actually present in happy marriages. Now, can you imagine which of the 3 tend to be more healthy? I'll bet you probably can. Criticism and defensiveness and stonewalling happen even in good relationships. Now, I'm not giving you an out here to continue stonewalling consciously because now I've kind of ruined it for you. Now you're going to be aware of criticizing and being defensive and or turning away from a relationship with stonewalling. I really don't want you to do those 3 things, although those sometimes can be present in a relationship. The one slippery slope that is the most dangerous for the longevity of your relationship, so that it can last a very long time, the one that we must eradicate is contempt. Contempt is that residue of resentment that I referenced just a moment ago, that once it gets on me, it tends to build over time. And folks begin to lose hope, they become isolated, they become angry, frustrated individuals. Now, you may have very good reasons for that. However, in a conscious relationship, what we'll try to do is we'll try to come together to heal those wounds, to bring to each other the balm of acceptance, the balm of understanding, to be able to have what we once had, actually once upon a time used to feel easy, but no longer does. Contempt is that place where we perform what I call character assassination. We talk in absolutes, you never or you always, and we come at a person's character and we cut them down at the core. And it's cruel almost to do so, and we do it. We do it in relationships. It's very harmful to the foundation of relationships. If you find that you or your partner has a residue of resentment that comes across in a contemptful way in relationship with each other, then you need help. And this may be enough help today. If today what I've taught you in terms of the 4 slippery slopes can be your wake-up call, maybe you can begin to heal, because this really is about forgiveness, isn't it? Sometimes it's about forgiveness of self. Sometimes it's about forgiveness of other. But we have to be careful about contempt, because sometimes we can feel righteous. Now, that doesn't mean we shouldn't have needs. However, resentment builds a righteousness. And in that righteousness, sometimes we can attack. And in that attack, guess what we're doing? We're doing almost the very same thing that we felt like has been done to us. So I want to say to you, beware of the 4 slippery slopes. Really work on minimizing the 3. Those 3 again being criticism and defensiveness and stonewalling. But I know that they'll happen sometimes. But we definitely want to eradicate and get out of this relationship contempt and resentment. If you need help in doing so, you're listening today to Dave Turo-Shields. I'm the Couples Coach, and you're watching The Couples Connection. I want to thank you for tuning in and watching this show, and please put it into action today. If you need some help, please let me know.